Today, I'll be telling you a very interesting story with a twist. We are doing this for the first time. Well, we just started, so there's a lot of things that we are doing for the first time. But anyhow, if this story doesn't excite you about the business world, I don't know what will. And remind you again, there is a suspense or a twist in the end. So, here we go. Hey everyone, this is Aditya, and you're watching MBA File. In the business world, one of the hardest things to pull off is a merger or acquisition. For the lack of better simile, it's like trying to land on the moon with two ships tied together. If it makes sense. No, it doesn't. So fasten your seatbelts for a deep dive as it all started in March of 2019 with the news that Zee may sell 20 to 25% of its stake to Sony for 13,000 crore rupees. Caught out. Next day only, the stock soared up by 40% on a takeover hope. Why exactly that amount? Because it was the exact amount Zee needed to settle its debts. But this is a valuation stage. I think we have skipped a few steps, so let's get back a little bit. Starting with the rough formulation of strategy and cost benefit analysis of this merger. Let's start with Zee as it was a bigger deal for them. Zee had a presence in 173 countries and estimated reach of about 1.3 billion people. In India alone, it reaches more than 600 million people, so a huge regional edge. Sony is predominantly an entertainment company with general entertainment category or GEC and sports at its center. But it also has a skin in the media game. Sony's channel Banquet is viewed by at least 700 million viewers in India and is available in 167 countries. Zee accounts for 25% of the total television movie consumption in India. As per its annual report March 2021, it also had 260,000 hours of Zee television content and also its film library with rights to more than 4,800 movies titled across all languages. She also has a 20% viewership share in hard to penetrate Southern India market. Sony comes with different speciality and offers sports properties such as WWE, FIFA, Eurocup football. It also adds cricket, thanks to its 10 sports channel and high definition versions of all, plus a past experience to host IPL. So Sony comes strong in general entertainment category or GEC. Both the entities command an EBITDA margin of 23 to 26% as of the financial year 2021, with a combined projected growth rate possibility of 32 to 33%. In advertising segment, Zee and Sony merger together could have commanded a 22% of ad share revenue. Star and Zee-Sony may have become irreplaceable given their sheer size with around 45% ad market share. The proposed merger would have created a 74-channel powerhouse. The merged entity was poised to become India's fourth largest media company, after Google, Meta, Disney Star, respectively. This is where the merger really starts making sense, if it didn't until now. Digital media, aka the OTT, is set to grow about 22 to 23% year on year. Sony Live's monthly active user or MAU base is 45 million, while Zee has a 72 million MAUs. Zee and Sony both have an OTT revenue base of rupees 3.7 to 4 billion each in digital. Both of them came together as a piece of a puzzle, like yin and yang. In the digital space, Sony would reinforce the union with its sports offerings, which Zee does not possess. And Zee would bring into the table the advantage of regional content that Sony lacks. To explain in detail, there are two models for OTT business: advertising, video on demand, or AVOD like Disney Plus Hotstar, whose 40% revenue comes from ads. While on other hand, there is subscription video on demand or SVOD, where the merged entity was hoping to play. Now a thing about SVOD or subscription VOD is ARPU or average revenue per user increases with the larger size of the content. So more the content, greater will be the ARPU. At that time, the ARPU of both was low, with Zee at rupees 500 annually and Sony-Live at rupees 700 to 800 annually. And they had a separate market share of 13.2% with Zee and 5.8% with Sony-Live. So, a merged entity could have demanded a higher RPU of rupees 1500 thanks to the size of the content alone. Not to mention, the whole would be greater than sum of its parts, with a projected 19% market share combined. This speaks of the aspirations, but were the aspirations only thing driving the merger? The answer is big fat no. In reality, both the companies were not doing well individually. The Zees were struggling hard to answer questions from its majority stakeholder Invesco, and not to forget a hefty debt of 13,000 crore rupees. For broadcasting networks, only a handful of channels brings the revenue, and as per its annual report, 46% of its revenue comes from advertising, with subscription contribution being 42%, and the rest coming primarily from licensing. Not all is well for the Sony too in India, as conventionally it has been a harder market to crack, especially for the foreign companies. Sony had a blast when it had the right of the IPL or Indian Premier League. Like in FY15 to 18, its revenue almost doubled from rupees 3,342 crore to 6,277 crore rupees, while net profit shot up by 6 times. But in September 2017, Disney Plus Hotstar got the broadcasting rights of the IPL. So, Sony's revenue stagnated to rupees 5,640 crores in FY 2021, and net profit dropped to rupees 564 crores from rupees 970 crore in FY20. On top of that, it is a very difficult phase for television broadcasting industry, as rapid shift towards digital advertising and overhang of new tariff order will restrict subscription revenue growth. And plus the fact that regional content in the industry is growing by double digit, while growth of Hindi general entertainment is low single digit. So basically Sony was missing out on all the growth opportunities, as it had just one channel in Bengali and Marathi with a combined revenue less than 100 crore each year. So the reason why Sony needed Zee is to get in the game, as Zee is quite impressive in Bengali and Marathi on organic growth alone. Interestingly, the original agreement also included a provision of $100 million penalty if either party backs out. But this clause became void after the expiration of December 21 deadline. So everything was right for these two behemoths to work together. So what possibly went wrong? As we mentioned before, approximately in 2019, when Zee company hinted a possible merger with Sony, wherein Sony was sent to hold a majority of approximately 51% share, the Zee promoter family was set to hold 2.2% that might raise to approximately 4%. Well, there is a lot of technicality in it. So if you want to dig deeper, I have given all the links in the description below for you to go through it. In the meanwhile, here is an easier to understand version. From its very inception of the merger, it has been around two people. Meet Mr. Puneet Goenka and NP Singh. Interestingly, the first move was made by Sony in November 2020, as Sony had already bought Zee Sports division in 2016. But this time, unfortunately, a new offer for another deal was rejected. However, 3 months back, KPMG reached out to Zee on behalf of Sony with a better valuation. Still, Zee was not excited for the deal at all. So why was Sony interested? Well, Mr. NP Singh said that it wanted to expand footprint. Moving on, with little to and fro, the basic agreement was crafted and a board meeting was called off by the Zee on October. From here, the downfall starts, as Invesco, the Atlantic-based investment management firm, the majority shareholder at 18% in Zee, accused it of corporate misgovernance. And with the minimum share of 4%, Mr. Puneet didn't have any say. Well, in September 22, Zee announced its plan to merge with Sony, and the deal was inked 3 months later with the following shareholdings: But all was not over, as there were too many cooks in the kitchen, including the regulatory agencies. So SEBI got involved, as on 25th April 2023, the SEBI accused Chandra and his son Goenka of diverting at least 200 crore rupees from Zee. But the decision movement came on October 23, when the SAT quashes SEBI's order restraining Puneet Goenka from holding the post of MD and CEO. But in November, Sony wanted its India CEO to be the CEO of the entity, and everything went haywire until on January 18, 2024, Puneet Goenka offered to step down from the role of the CEO. But it was too late, as on 21st January was the deadline, and on 22, Sony announced to call off the merger. So here is everything about the Zee-Sony merger. But where is the suspense or the twist that I have promised at the initial part of the video? Well, here you go. I just love the business world and how interconnected it is. So now, as Zee-Sony deal has fallen through, Disney plus Hotstar got slapped with the devaluation of $2 billion. Yes, you heard it. Disney got slapped with the devaluation of $2 billion. Why? Because Reliance and Disney were in talks to merge, and as Zee-Sony merger has failed, it has impacted a $1.5 billion sub-licensing deal of Zee and Disney Hotstar for the International Cricket Council or ICC. Now, Zee is saying that the whole sub-licensing deal was contingent on successful Zee-Sony deal. Literally the butterfly effect in action, wherein some irregularities triggered allegation against an individual, which derailed the merger, which affected another deal in the same sector. So basically from a file to a company to a merger to another merger to a whole sector. Mind blowing! Now, the Reliance has prepared two valuation scenarios for Disney Star. One considering the accessory TV right obligations and another without it. If the Reliance Disney deal happens, it is poised to create a media powerhouse with a combined revenue of around 25,000 crore rupees. So, what were the key learnings? Well, you tell me in the comment box. Plus, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to MBA Fight for more such interesting case studies and news. See you soon.